Hello, Sacral Beauties. Welcome to the SheSacral Podcast. If you're new, I'm your host, Lindsay Christian, and I help women recover from chronic burnout. Today, we're going to dive in and talk about the guilt wound, which carries the belief that if I receive, that someone can go without. And this can lead us into self-punishment and sabotage. So a lot of times, guilt really feels like a chain that can tie up our abundance. And if every time you feel like you are ready to reach for more, but you have this voice in the back of your mind that says, who are you to have this when others don't? Or instead of earning what you've earned, you shrink or you overgive or you sabotage so you don't quote unquote take too much. Now let's talk a little bit about the origins of where this guilt wound comes from. Many of us grew up hearing things like, you need to be grateful and don't be greedy. So asking for more was seen as selfish, while settling for just a little bit was praised. And if you ever had like a big dream or something that required more, it might have been met with an eye roll or someone to say, you need to be more realistic than that. And over time, your body started to code that sense of desire and wanting something as being dangerous. So sometimes that can bring shame and judgment and rejection. We could also have survivor's guilt. Maybe you were the first in your family to go to college or land that high-paying job or experience financial stability when you didn't grow up with it. And so instead of celebrating, you felt the weight and heaviness of those that were around you who didn't have those same opportunities. So you avoid, quote unquote, outshining. You downplayed your wins, or maybe you gave away more than you could afford so others didn't feel left behind. When it comes to cultural and social messaging, society often glorifies struggle while demonizing wealth. And so this narrative is good people work hard and rich people are greedy. We see media stories all the time of the corruption and the exploitation of this, which only deepens that suspicion. And so if you've believed this, part of your fears about having more automatically makes you feel bad, right? So your nervous system protects you by keeping you small. Another origin could be inherited. If your parents or your grandparents lived paycheck to paycheck, maybe they lost their homes in recessions, or they worked themselves into exhaustion with little to show for it, abundance can feel like betrayal. And on a cellular level, that may have left this imprint to say, if they sacrificed everything and still struggled, why should I have it easier? And then the last thing that I want to cover is the caretaker belief. If you are praised for giving, but then criticized with receiving, with someone saying, don't be selfish or don't take too much, you can learn that love is conditional. So you became the one who gives, who fixes, who sacrifices, and receiving can feel like a threat to your belonging. So this can tie into the receiving wound, and we did a whole episode on that, so be sure to tune into that episode after this as well. And so here are some common examples, just so we can kind of spark how this could feel. Many women feel guilty for spending money on themselves, whether it's a massage or new clothes or even taking time away, because the cultural belief is that a good mother sacrifices everything. And so self-investment feels selfish, even though it's what sustains them. If you run a business, you might feel guilty for charging for your work. Hello, I can agree with this. This is something that I've had to overcome, especially in service-based or healing fields. And that guilt sets in to say, if I really cared, I'd just do it for free. And this keeps so many women underpricing and overgiving and burning out, because the truth of the matter is, as much as we want to heal and take care of everybody, we also deserve to be taken care of. And where do you think that's going to come from? Right? We have to be able to sustain our lives. We deserve health care. We deserve food. We deserve lights. We deserve shelter. We deserve to have our livelihood to be taken care of and provide service. So if you're struggling with that, leave a comment down below, because I want to know if other women or just other men, anybody who is an entrepreneur or in a space of healing or service feels this way. So let's talk a little bit about how this pattern of this guilt wound can show up. Number one, we might be overgiving as proof that we're a good person. So you might give more than you have, which can look like extra hours at work, doing a bunch of favors for your friends, or over-delivering in your business so that you can prove to yourself, I'm not greedy, right? But if you rest, if you hold the money, or if you say no, then that guilt starts to creep in. So you pour yourself out to quiet it down. When money, gifts, or opportunities come in, you don't hold them. You might spend that bonus that you get right away, or give away extras to your clients, or keep spending the money or your resources until you're back to zero. And so subconsciously, you're trying to cleanse yourself of that discomfort that you're feeling with receiving. Or you could be trying to balance through suffering. Maybe when life starts to feel good, you have in the back of your mind, something bad is about to happen next, isn't it? It's about to all be taken away. And you might unconsciously create struggles to even out the scales, picking fights, taking on more projects, pushing yourself into exhaustion, as if joy or ease must be punished. You can also run into sabotaging your success. You can cancel launches right before they're ready, hide your offers, or downplay achievements so that no one feels threatened. Visibility feels like taking up too much space for you, so you shrink before abundance can root. And even when nothing external is happening, that guilt can live in the body. A feeling of a heavy chest, a tense jaw, or constant feelings of uneasiness that say, you don't deserve this. And the nervous system stays braced, which puts it into a position that's unable to relax enough to receive. So the guilt wound is one of the fastest ways of depleting your body because it will do a double drain on you. It's going to cause you to overgive to quiet the guilt and punish yourself when you're finally in a position to receive. And that creates a cycle where you're always emptying yourself, but never filling yourself back up, which can put you into a space of chronic burnout. Now let's talk a little bit about the nervous system. So guilt doesn't just live in the mind, it lodges in the body. Your shoulders curl forward as if you're carrying these invisible loads. Do you ever notice that? When you're really stressed, but not just stressed, because stress shows up differently in different areas. When you're really stressed, but it's almost the space of a lot of responsibility, you feel this heavy weight on your shoulders. And your chest starts to feel heavy, like a pressure that you can't breathe away. Your jaw locks up tight, holding back words or desires that feel like too much, quote unquote. And even as much rest as you give yourself, it doesn't fully restore because the body never really puts its guard down. So hypervigilance, constantly being aware and on alert around receiving, is another way that impacts the nervous system. So when opportunities, money, or gifts arrive, the nervous system will light up with alarm signals. Am I taking too much? Am I hurting someone else by receiving this? What if it all disappears? Instead of softening into feeling how good it is to receive, the body braces and prepares for guilt or backlash. So because of these old beliefs and the way that they have imprinted on our bodies, the nervous system treats receiving like danger. It's not logical. It's on a cellular level. Even when abundance is right in front of you, your body might reject it, distract you into overgiving, or create ways to shrink back down into smallness where it feels safe. Over time, that guilt will wire you into hyper responsibility, which means that you're carrying more than what is yours. So you start feeling responsible for everyone's comfort, safety, and well-being. If others are struggling, then you can't even enjoy your own blessings. And that starts to create resentment because you're drained, right? And this feeling of hyper responsibility keeps that nervous system locked into your stress cycles. You're constantly on scanning for whether your abundance might harm or trigger others. And instead of allowing for money and resources to fuel you, you deplete faster. And the body starts running on guilt chemistry, which is full of adrenaline and cortisol, until the burnout feels inevitable. And on the flip side of that, you might feel guilty for healing. Most of us are going to say, what? I don't feel guilty for healing. You might feel guilty for allowing yourself to rest. When it's like, oh man, I know I got to get so much done. I know I told so-and-so I would do all of this stuff, or I committed myself to this project. I committed myself to doing all these things, and taking a break or slowing down or resting. I feel really guilty. I feel like I'm letting somebody down, right? Guys, do you know how many times I have that thought with just creating my content here? And I know at the time of me creating this podcast episode, I have less than 100 subscribers. But I truly feel that each subscriber, each person listening to me is a person, whereas most people just see you as numbers. I understand and I feel you as a person. And so I carry this responsibility within myself to say, like, I need to keep showing up. I need to keep being there for these people I don't know. And so sometimes I have to override that guilt and I have to say, it's okay. They're probably really busy too. You can rest today. And if it doesn't get out, it will get out eventually. So I do hold myself really high in accountability to show up, but there's a balance that has to be done where it's okay. We can listen to ourselves and we can allow for ourselves to rest and heal when we need to. We don't need something that's super tragic or traumatizing to happen into our lives to cause for us to say, I have a good excuse to say I can't show up today. If you need to rest, rest. You'll come back, right? So let's talk a little bit more about the trap that happens where we can start perceiving abundance as punishment. So joy can turn into threat. For someone who is carrying this feeling of guilt, receiving abundance doesn't really feel very safe. It feels like danger. The nervous system starts to ring this alarm. Oh, this won't last. This makes me a bad person. So what should feel expansive to you starts to feel like a setup for loss. So to silence that discomfort of guilt, as we mentioned earlier, you start unconsciously punishing yourself with overspending, overworking, trying to prove that you've earned it, overgiving, giving the discounts, the freebies, the favors, so no one can accuse you of being a greedy person. And each time that money starts flowing, guilt will ensure you find your way back into lack and struggle. Not because you really want to, because let's be honest, nobody wants to, but lack may feel safer and more morally correct. So this trap makes abundance feel heavier than lack. So instead of being fueled by your wins, you kind of dread them because your body has learned that the price of receiving is punishment. And over time, that drains your joy, motivation, energy, and feeds that consistent cycle of burnout. So with that, let's shift this lens a little bit, and we want to start moving from guilt to gratitude. Guilt makes you believe that receiving will somehow automatically take away from others. But the truth is, your abundance doesn't take away from the collective, it expands it. When you have and hold more, you circulate more. You have more to move around. Your healed receiving creates opportunities and inspiration and pathways for others. So guilt urges you to do something the second that you receive. Whether it's to spend, give it away, hide it. So instead, I want you to start practicing holding that. When money comes into your account or someone gives you a compliment, resist that urge to deflect and say, it's no big deal. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe. Come on, do it with me. Hold your hand over your heart. Take a deep breath in. Release. And whisper to your body, it is safe for me to receive. So instead of your guilt telling you that my abundance hurts other people and having more takes away from others, gratitude is going to shift it and say, my abundance actually helps others. And every dollar that you receive, every moment of ease that you allow for your body to feel, will start to send those ripples outward through generosity, creativity, or just showing others what is possible, that you can be both abundant and compassionate. So that is everything that I wanted to share with you today about guilt in the body when it comes to receiving, because a lot of us can hold that. And if you are a woman who has been going through burnout or trying to recover her body from being in a space of survival mode, I have the perfect community for you to join. So click the link down below, which will take you to the Pleasure Wire, where we learn how to rewire our nervous system, balance our hormones, and get our bodies in a space of safety and magnetism after being burned out. So I hope to see you there. So I hope that this episode resonated with you today. Please be sure to follow and subscribe so you get notified, because up next, we're going to dive into the shame wound. Oh, this one runs deep for a lot of different things when it comes to abundance. Thank yourself so much for showing up today, and thank you for tuning in to the SheSacral Podcast.